When the world grows quiet and your footsteps echo in an empty room, it's easy to believe you've been abandoned by the rhythm of life. But listen closely. Even in solitude, something ancient is speaking through you. Every setback, every unanswered question, every moment you felt unseen is part of a vast, unfolding choreography, one that has been guiding you long before you knew its name. The silence you fear is not emptiness, but a divine pause, a breath taken by the universe as it rearranges the pieces of your becoming. And though you may seem to stand alone, you are held by threads of purpose woven through every experience you've survived. So walk forward, not with force, but with reverence, knowing that your journey is a note in a cosmic symphony too expansive to comprehend, yet intimate enough to shape your very heartbeat. In the grand design of existence, even your loneliest step is part of destiny's most beautiful masterpiece. There's a moment in every journey when the world seems to pull away, wrens get quiet, familiar voices fade, and suddenly you find yourself sitting in the stillness, wondering if the path had somehow narrowed until only you can walk it. And in that space, it's natural to feel the weight of it, to feel like maybe you took a wrong turn, maybe you misread the signs. Maybe the silence means you're off track. But what if that silence is not a sign of abandonment, but an invitation, because solitude, real, honest solitude, is one of the most powerful teachers life will ever send your way. Not the kind that feels like isolation, but the kind that strips away everything unnecessary so you can finally hear your own truth again. When there's no one else to impress, no expectations to meet, no noise to drown in, you begin to notice things that were always there but hidden under layers of distraction. It's in solitude that you hear the whisper of your own intuition again. You start to feel the rhythm of your inner world, the quiet pulse that guides you long before your mind catches up. You realize how much wisdom you've carried without even knowing it. The lessons from your pain, your victories, your failures, your moments of grace. They rise to the surface, and suddenly you're not sitting in emptiness at all. You're sitting in revelation. We're conditioned to believe that strength comes from the crowd, from the tribe, from the people around us cheering us on. And yes, community is powerful, but there's a different kind of strength, one that doesn't rely on applause or reassurance. It's the strength that's born when you're alone and you choose to rise anyway. When you decide that your purpose is worth pursuing even without witnesses. When you keep going simply because something inside you refuses to quit. And that kind of strength, it's unshakable. It becomes a foundation no one can take from you. You see, solitude isn't there to break you. It's there to reveal you. It's there to pull you back into alignment with who you are when the world isn't trying to shape you into something else. It's there to create the conditions for transformation, the kind that can only happen when nothing external is influencing you. Think about it. Some of the most profound pivots in your life didn't happen when the room was full. They happened in the quiet moments when you were face to face with yourself, when you could no longer outrun the truth of what you wanted, or the truth of who you've always been. And it's in that quiet where the universe does some of its best work. Not through dramatic signs or loud revelations, but through subtle nudges, shifts in feeling, unexpected clarity, a sense of knowing that seems to appear out of nowhere. It's like life waits until you're finally still. And then it speaks. When you learn to stop fearing your own company, you unlock something extraordinary. The ability to navigate your path with a grounded, unwavering sense of self. You become someone who doesn't crumble when support is scarce, who doesn't collapse when validation disappears. You become someone who can stand in the truth of their purpose without needing anyone else to confirm it. And the beauty of this is that once you've built that inner strength in solitude, it carries into everything. The relationships you form become richer because you're no longer clinging to them for identity. The goals you pursue become sharper because you're no longer chasing them to fill a void. The challenges you face become opportunities because you know you've already survived the deepest form of discomfort, meeting yourself in the quiet. So when solitude comes, don't run from it, lean into it. Listen, let it work on you, let it sharpen you, let it strip away what's false so what's real can finally breathe, because solitude isn't the absence of support. It's the presence of your true self, and, diluted, undeniable, and ready to rise. In the quiet, you discover the strength that never leaves you. There's something fascinating about the moments when you feel completely on your own, when you're carrying the weight of your decisions, your dreams, your challenges, and there's no one in sight to help you lift any of it. It's in those moments that people often say, "I've got nothing left. There's no one to lean on." But what if that's not actually true? What if the support you think is missing has been with you all along, just not in the form you expected? Because life doesn't always send help as people. Sometimes it sends it as awareness, as intuition, as strength you didn't know you had until life demanded it from you. And when you start to recognize that, something shifts. You begin to understand that even in your most solitary chapters, you've never really walked without guidance. You've been moving through this world connected to a web of invisible threads, threads of purpose, threads of instinct, threads of wisdom that come alive exactly when you need them most. Think back to the times you made it through something you were convinced would break you, the nights you stayed awake not knowing how tomorrow was going to work, the days you faced a storm with no umbrella, no map, no backup plan. Yet somehow, someway, you found a next step. You made a choice that moved you forward. You said something, or held back, or took a leap, or stayed still. And that one decision changed everything. Where did that come from? It didn't come from the crowd. It didn't come from noise. It came from something inside you that refuses to let you quit. That's the invisible thread. It's the quiet, steady force that has carried you through every season, even the ones you didn't think you could survive. It's the part of you that knows your story isn't finished, no matter how overwhelming the current chapter feels, and these threads aren't random. They're woven into your life with intention, your instincts, your inner warnings, your sudden clarity, your unexplainable courage. They show up right on time, almost like life is whispering directions you didn't even realize you were following. Most people underestimate how guided they truly are. They think guidance always has to be loud, dramatic, obvious, but some of the most powerful direction you'll ever receive shows up as a subtle pull, an urge, a feeling that says, something about this path matters, keep going. That whisper is part of your support system. That intuition is one of the threads holding you. That resilience is one of the threads lifting you. And when you begin to trust those unseen forces, the internal compass, the flashes of clarity, the sense of purpose that rises in your chest even when you're exhausted, you unlock a different level of power. You stop waiting for someone else to validate your journey, and you start realizing that life has been validating you all along. Sometimes you don't get the cheerleaders. Sometimes you don't get the applause. Sometimes you don't get the reassurance you crave, but you always get guidance. You always get nudged toward who you're meant to become. Even in the darkest seasons, something inside you keeps choosing growth over collapse, hope over surrender, movement over stagnation. You felt it, that moment when you wanted to give up, but something you couldn't quite name, kept you standing. That wasn't luck. That wasn't coincidence. That was the invisible thread pulling you forward. And the more you recognize these threads, the more connected you feel, not just to your own journey, but to the larger story you're a part of. You begin to see that life has always been interacting with you, responding to you, evolving with you. You realize you're not drifting through chaos. You're participating in a deeply intentional unfolding. So the next time you feel alone, remember this. You're held by forces that don't disappear just because people do. You're guided by a wisdom that doesn't vanish when the world grows quiet. You are connected, supported, and strengthened by the very fabric of existence. Even when no one stands beside you, something far greater always carries you. It's easy to look at the challenges in your life and see them as interruptions, Moments that knock you off balance, derail your plans, or leave you questioning why everything suddenly feels so hard. We're wired to think obstacles mean something's wrong, that we've made a misstep, or that life is somehow working against us. But what if the moments you resist the most are actually the moments playing the most essential role in your evolution? Think about music for a second. In any great symphony, the beauty isn't in the constant rhythm. It's in the contrast. It's in the highs and lows, the tension and release, the unexpected pauses that make the next movement land even deeper. Without those shifts, the music wouldn't move you. It would fall flat, and life in its own way works with the same kind of brilliance. Every challenge, every setback, every heavy silence is a movement in your personal symphony, not an error in the composition. When life drops a difficult moment in your lap, it's not to punish you, it's to deepen you. It's there to create resonance, to expand your emotional range, to stretch your capacity to handle more, feel more, become more. Even the moments that feel unfair or confusing carry a kind of wisdom you usually don't recognize until much later. When the pieces align and you finally understand why that chapter needed to happen exactly the way it did. We don't grow in perfection, we grow in friction. We grow when something challenges the limits of who we think we are. We grow when the universe throws a disruption into the comfortable rhythm of our lives and forces us to find a new beat. Those difficult moments, the heartbreaks, the failures, the disappointments, the unexpected losses, they're not the breakdowns we think they are. They're transitions, key changes, movements within a larger song that's been unfolding since the moment you took your first breath. And the irony is, even when you feel alone in those moments, you're never truly alone, because challenge is universal. Every human being, across every lifetime, across every culture, across every generation, has felt the same sharp edges you've felt. When you're going through something heavy, you're tapping into an experience that connects you to every person who has ever struggled and survived. There's something profoundly unifying about that. So instead of seeing your challenges as dead ends, try seeing them as openings, portals into a deeper part of yourself. There's a version of you shaped by ease, and there's a version of you shaped by adversity. And the version shaped by adversity, that one becomes unshakable, grounded, aware, impossible to move off. Purpose. That version of you learns to rise not because someone is pulling you up, but because the fire within you refuses to stay small. Life isn't trying to break you, it's trying to tune you. It's trying to bring you into harmony with the strength that already lives inside you. It's trying to help you create a depth of character you wouldn't have developed any other way. And when you start to see challenges this way, when you begin to understand that every difficult moment is part of a cosmic arrangement designed to shape you, something incredible happens. You stop resisting every disruption. You stop believing every setback is a sign to quit. You start recognizing the deeper rhythm beneath the chaos. You start trusting that even when the music gets dark or heavy, the next movement is already on its way. And that trust, it changes everything, because suddenly you're not just surviving life's challenges, you're partnering with them. You're letting them strengthen you, refine you, sharpen you. You're realizing that every challenge you face is expanding your capacity to live the life you were meant for. So the next time life shifts the tempo, don't panic. Don't assume something has gone wrong. Instead, breathe, listen, feel the rhythm beneath the disruption, because even in the moments that feel most dissonant, your story is still being composed with intention. Every challenge you face is shaping you into someone capable of playing a far more powerful song. There are moments in life when it feels like everything has slowed to a crawl. You're doing the work, you're putting in the effort, you're showing up with everything you've got, and nothing seems to move. Doors stay closed, opportunities stay quiet, progress feels invisible, and in that stillness, it's so easy to start doubting yourself, to wonder if you're wasting your time, to question whether your dream is really meant for you or if you somehow missed your chance. But what if that pause, this frustrating, uncomfortable, nearly unbearable pause, isn't a sign of delay at all? What if it's part of the timing that life has woven into your journey with more precision than you can possibly imagine? We're conditioned to believe that progress must be constant, that momentum should always be forward, that our lives should unfold in a straight, upward line, but nature doesn't work like that. Music doesn't work like that. Growth doesn't work like that. Every powerful transformation, every one, happens through seasons, cycles, rhythms. Some are loud and explosive, others are quiet, hidden, almost invisible from the outside. And those quiet seasons, they are not empty, they are not wasted, they are not a punishment, they are preparation. Think about the moments in your life when everything finally clicked, those breakthroughs you felt in your gut. They rarely happened instantly. Most of the time, they came after long stretches where it felt like nothing was happening at all. But behind the scenes, everything was happening. You were being shaped. You were being strengthened. Life was rearranging the pieces so that when the moment arrived, you'd be ready to hold what you'd been asking for. There is a timing to your life that's bigger than you. Bigger than your plans, bigger than your fears, and when you start to trust that timing, really trust it, something inside you relaxes. You stop forcing outcomes that aren't meant to arrive yet. You stop chasing answers that haven't reached their moment. You stop judging yourself for being in the middle of a season that's still unfolding. There's a quiet intelligence in the pauses, a purpose in the waiting, a design in the detours. Sometimes life slows you down not to hold you back, but to line you up with something you can't yet see. Sometimes the delay is protection, sometimes it's redirection. Sometimes it's simply life saying, not yet, you're close, but you're not fully ready, let me finish shaping you. And the truth is, some opportunities are so powerful, so transformative, that stepping into them too early could actually break you. Life, in its strange and sometimes infuriating wisdom, refuses to let you walk into something you haven't grown the capacity to carry. So when the path feels slow, when everything is quiet, when you're doing everything right and seeing nothing happen, don't rush the moment, don't assume the universe has forgotten you, don't collapse into frustration. Instead, breathe into the timing, lean into it, trust it the way you trust the arc of a sunrise even before the first rays show, because the moment will come, it always does, not on your schedule, but on the schedule that aligns your growth with your destiny. And when it arrives, it won't feel late. It will feel perfect. It will feel inevitable. It will feel like every delay, every detour, every silence was actually guiding you towards something you were always meant to reach. So keep moving, even when time feels slow. Keep believing, even when progress hides. Keep listening, even when all you hear is stillness. Life hasn't stopped. It's aligning. What feels like a pause today is often the universe preparing you for the moment you were born to step into. There comes a point in everyone's journey where the lights go down, the applause fades, and the room grows quiet. And in that moment, it's just you, no validation, no cheering section, no one telling you that you're doing the right thing. That's where most people start to doubt themselves. That's where the mind tries to convince you that if no one is watching, maybe what you're doing doesn't matter. But that moment, right there, is where a different kind of greatness is born. It's easy to stay committed when you're surrounded by support. It's easy to stay strong when you feel seen, but the real test, the defining test, is who you are when the world isn't paying attention. When the only person who knows whether you gave your best is you, that's where the inner fire begins to reveal itself. There's a flame inside every person, a sense of purpose, a spark of conviction, a deep, quiet knowing that refuses to die even when everything else feels uncertain. That flame isn't loud, it doesn't shout for attention, it flickers, it whispers, and sometimes it burns so low you start to question whether it's still there. But it is, it always is, and it's your job, your responsibility, to tend to it, especially when the world goes silent. What most people don't realize is that external validation can be addictive. It can become the fuel you depend on without even noticing. You get used to someone else clapping for you, someone else acknowledging your progress, someone else telling you you're doing well. But what happens when that stops? If your fire depends on someone else's oxygen, you'll burn out the moment they walk away. The most powerful, resilient people aren't the ones who need the world to cheer for them. They're the ones who learn to cheer for themselves. They're the ones who learn to build discipline from the inside. They show up because their soul calls them forward, not because someone else is watching. And that kind of commitment becomes unshakable. It becomes a force that doesn't collapse when life gets messy or discouraging. It keeps burning through setbacks, through doubt, through exhaustion. And the beauty of this inner fire is that once you learn to protect it, it becomes your anchor in every storm. When you stop chasing external validation, your entire life shifts. You become clearer. You become more honest with yourself. You become more aligned with what actually matters to you, not what people think should matter. And the incredible thing is, once you've built that inner fire, you can walk into any situation with a level of strength that can't be taken from you. You stop comparing yourself to others because your worth isn't tied to external measurement. You stop shrinking yourself to fit into expectations that were never yours to begin with. You start walking with a kind of presence that comes from knowing you've built something real inside you, something no setback, no criticism, no loneliness can extinguish. There's something deeply liberating about realizing that you don't need permission to shine. You don't need applause to be powerful. You don't need recognition to matter. Your power comes from honoring that flame within you, especially in the moments when the external world offers nothing back. And the truth is, the world will eventually notice. People always notice someone who carries a fire that doesn't depend on the crowd, but by the time they do, you won't be waiting for their approval. You'll simply be grateful for the journey that taught you how to stand on your own. So if you're in that quiet chapter right now, if you're walking alone without the validation you used to rely on, don't shrink, don't dim, tend to your fire, feed it with discipline, with purpose, with truth. Let it burn in the dark until it becomes the light that leads you forward. The power that lasts is the fire you learn to ignite when no one is watching. There's a moment, usually after you've walked through solitude, trusted the invisible guidance, weathered the challenges, waded through the pauses, and learned to tend your inner fire. When something shifts in how you see yourself, you start to recognize that you're not just a single person trying to survive your circumstances. You're part of something far bigger, something woven through every experience, every encounter, every rise and fall. And when that awareness lands, everything about your journey takes on a different dimension. Most of us go through life feeling like we're separate, separate from each other, separate from our purpose, separate from the world around us. And of course, when we feel separate, struggle feels heavier, loneliness feels deeper, challenges feel personal, but the truth, the deeper truth, is that you've never been separate. You've never been isolated in the way your mind tries to convince you. You are part of a larger story that's been unfolding long before you arrived and will continue long after you're gone. Every step you take, even the ones taken alone, ripple outward. Every decision, every act of courage, every refusal to give up influences far more than your own life. You're connected to people you've never met. You're contributing to the lives of people who will never know your name, and you're shaped by forces and events you may never physically encounter. That's the interconnected dance you're a part of. Think about the people who inspired you, the ones whose resilience lit something inside you. Some of them you've never spoken to. Some of them might not even know you exist. Yet their choices, their stories, their willingness to rise had a direct impact on your path. Now take that truth and flip it. Someone, somewhere, will be influenced by your courage in exactly the same way. When you choose not to give up, you're not just choosing for yourself. You're choosing for everyone who will draw strength from your example. When you rise from the quiet, lonely chapters, you create a blueprint for someone else who will one day stand in that same silence. When you honor your timing, follow your intuition, and trust your journey, you shape the collective journey. Even if no one notices it in the moment, that impact is real. We like to imagine our lives as self-contained stories, but they're not. They're threads in a massive tapestry. Threads that twist, connect, intersect, and create patterns far more beautiful than we could ever design on our own. And sometimes you don't see the value of your thread until much later, when the picture finally comes into focus. Understanding your place in the greater whole doesn't make the hardships disappear, but it does change the meaning of them. Suddenly, your struggles aren't evidence that you're alone. They're evidence that you're part of a universal process that every human being goes through. Suddenly, your victories aren't just personal wins. They're contributions to the collective light. Suddenly, your resilience becomes a form of service, even if you never see who benefits from it, and that awareness lifts you. It gives your journey purpose beyond achievement, beyond survival, beyond everything you thought you were chasing. You begin to realize that simply by living, honestly, courageously, authentically, you're participating in the evolution of the world around you. You don't have to be famous. You don't have to be loud. You don't have to be recognized. You just have to keep showing up, keep walking, keep choosing growth, keep listening to the deeper call that moves through you, because your existence, your effort, your willingness to rise, they matter more than you will ever fully understand. When you truly recognize the magnitude of the story you're part of, something inside you steadies. You stop seeing your journey as a solitary struggle and start seeing it as a contribution to something timeless. You realize that even in your loneliest seasons, you've been dancing in sync with a force much larger than yourself. And when that understanding settles in your soul, you stop feeling alone, because you finally see the truth. Your journey is not separate from the whole. You are one of the forces that shapes it.